This week's episode is in partnership with Intact Insurance, here for you and for everything you care about. Gracious good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever it is that you have us plugged into your home, your car, your van, your headphones. Caitlin Green joins me, Adam Karsh. I am Jann Arden. This is the Jann Arden podcast and show. Caitlin, what's happening in the world? What's going on? Where are you? Because we're all traveling. We're all doing this. I mean, we're doing it remotely, but we're even more remote.
I am currently at home, but I am about to get on the road and head to Collingwood for the weekend, which will be nice. I was in Prince Edward County last time that we talked, so I'm doing a little tour of Ontario because I have some vacation days to burn off before they expire. So I was like, what are we going to do?
I think that's fantastic. A lot of people never visit their own backyards.
I know. I've found this recently, I think especially, I actually know what, it's not even just because of the pandemic. I've always traveled within Canada. Mind you, I haven't made my way out west very often. So in terms of Ontario heading east, I feel like I've done just about everything. And I've done a lot of really cool small towns and places in Ontario. And it's so beautiful. And I find I have friends and family who do house swaps. And yeah, which is great. And so they've been able to go to some really beautiful places, and they have, most of them who do it, they have a place in Toronto, and they also include a place outside of the city. So I have some family that live near Port Dover, and others have cottages. And they say that universally, people who come to Canada from other places that are very densely populated, so perhaps a really big city in Europe or Asia, the number one thing they want is to see Toronto, because they fly in and out for a couple of days, but then they just want the space, the thing that I think we take for granted. But they want the woods, they want no one around, they only want to hear the crackling of a fireplace, because it's just such a luxury that you realize a lot of other places in the world don't have.
I never for a second take that for granted, because it's exactly what I have. Yeah. I live in a little forest. I collect gnomes. So if you're struggling to try and figure out what to get me, yeah, it is. It's driving. I'm in Las Vegas today. It was kind of a pit stop. So yesterday we left Palm Springs and went to Los Angeles. The director, Ron Murphy of the Jann Show, is there, and we had a little quick meeting with him. And then we literally got in the car and just stopped here. We're like, let's stop somewhere fun, but we still have a 2-day trek home. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what, I was saying to Ron yesterday, we were in Sherman Oaks, looking like at the very top of this hill on a precipice. It freaked me out. You're looking down at all these other lives going on, sitting outside on these terraced, really steep yards. And it kind of freaks me out. You're like, there's no end to the things that could happen here. I mean, wildfires, flooding, earthquakes. And I'm like, there's one little tiny winding road into this house. Mm-hmm. The driveway was the steepest incline I have ever been on in my life. Leah screamed. Ron offered to drive my car up. He's like, do you mind if I drive up there? I'm like, oh, go for it. But it felt like we were going to tip backwards.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I appreciate wide, flat, open spaces.
Yeah. Yeah, I think about it more as I've gotten older, but that's a really top thing that both my husband and I like and prioritize when we travel is the ability to get away and have no one else around. And that's the majority of the places that we rent or stay. It's a house in the middle of the woods, which is my favorite. And it's just nice. I kind of just think, I don't know.
You have to come and see me.
I know, we do. You could house swap the heck out of your place. Oh my gosh, it would be in such high demand.
Never in a million years.
I want to come visit you.
You guys are both so welcome. You're both so welcome to come and visit me. But I think the house swap thing is cool. Caitlin.
Yeah, it is.
I really do.
I was nervous about it. I mean, thinking about doing it, because we've thought about doing it now. But my aunt and uncle have like way nicer places than we do. And they do it and they've done it. And I think because their properties are so nice, it's almost a courtesy that people end up offering a property that's kind of on the same level, because there's no money being exchanged. So you want it to be.
I was just going to say, so there's no money. This is simply a time share swap. And
yeah. And you'll just arrange to go at the same time.
Right.
So
they come to your place, you go to yours. yada, yada.
Exactly. And you don't have to do it that way, but that's how they've arranged it. And my uncle loves cooking. I mean, he went to, on the side as a hobby, he went to some very world-renowned, I don't know the name of it, French cooking school for a month in France. And whenever he goes away, he takes cooking classes. So they've gone to Morocco and he does cooking classes when he's there. They did a house swap in Thailand. He did cooking classes when he was there.
What?
I know. And he is such a fabulous cook. And their house that they have outside of the city has a full on, it looks like a residential kitchen in terms of style and comfort, but it's a chef's kitchen. It's basically a catering kitchen, level kitchen. And they have a giant cold room. They live on an orchard. It's insane. It is like something out of a Nora Ephron movie. And so when they house swap, the places they've gotten, they're crazy. I mean, their place is nice, but when I see the places they're staying, I'm thinking to myself, we need to get on this train.
Well, what a great way to take a holiday, to save a little money, see different places. But, getting back to the top of this conversation, the stuff in our own backyards really is interesting.
So
and
beautiful.
there's always books in every province. And I certainly know there's one in Alberta that's day trips from Calgary or day trips from Edmonton or day trips from Toronto. And for people that have lived in the same spot for 25 or 30 years, I would encourage you to go to the library and grab one of those books, because you don't have to spend $1 million. You can throw the kids in the car and really do something that takes 4 or 5 hours. And it could be an hour from your home that you're like, I did not know this was here.
I know. And there's so much beautiful stuff. Honestly, I'm not just saying this casually. You can message me on Twitter too, and I'll give you recommendations very least in Ontario, Quebec, and for sure Nova Scotia and PEI. That would be the 4 provinces I feel that I probably know best. But I have long thought about starting kind of a travel site, because I have been to a lot of places and I have a lot of friends who've been to a lot of places, and I enjoy compiling lists of recommendations for every city that I've kind of gone to or that my friends have gone to. So I've thought about this forever. It's just sheer laziness that I haven't pulled together the website yet. But it's so fun. That's something I think I miss the ease of doing. And it does feel like that's coming back a little bit now after COVID. That's going to get easier with changes around testing and everything. But I miss travel so much. There's so many places in the world that I have to see.
We are on the edge of something that really resembles normalcy, and I believe that. In Vegas, for instance, I was a little bit trepidatious, but of course, Lee and I have a couple friends that live here, so they met us at Aria. We're staying at Aria.
I stayed there before, and I love it.
Yeah, it's really kind of it's very central. It's easy to get to things. There's lots of walkways. Anyway, my friends came down. We had a pastry and a coffee and a drink, sort of sitting in this area. Took our masks off, but we're the only people, Lee and I, wandering around with masks. They took the mandates out here very recently, probably in the last week or so. There are groups of Chris Brunton, my road manager, always calls them Megan wagons. It's the bridal shower hen party thing. So those are all happening again. You're seeing groups of women, young girls, on the brink of getting married and laughing and having a great time. It looks really strange, but it's happening. I mean, it looks really quite status quo here.
Okay, so I'm wondering how long it would take you to find that it's very, very normal, actually. That your brain will make the switch back, because I went to PEI this summer and they have really strict testing rules when you come in. So we had PCR tests right away. You can't do anything until you get your results back. The results come back there in 2 hours. They've just really nailed it. But after that, because at that point, there had been no COVID on the island. I mean, my family that lives on the island had survivor's guilt over the whole pandemic because they had no cases. So when you got there, no masks. Now, some people still opted to wear them in busy places such as a grocery store or Shoppers Drug Mart or a liquor store. But primarily, you weren't wearing a mask, and you weren't doing that kind of, I think, silly thing where you wear a mask to get up and go to the bathroom in a restaurant, but then when you're at your table, you're in this magic no COVID zone. Those things are dumb.
Yeah, that kind of was lost on me.
And that doesn't make sense. So those things changed, and I was within 24 hours of being there, I was da da da. I was forgetting to put my mask on. I switched back quickly, and I found that when I was in the Bahamas as well, I switched back really, really quickly to not. And also too, recently when I was coming back from Prince Edward County, we stopped at an en route, one of the highway stops, and there were a lot of people who were coming back from Ottawa and they weren't wearing masks because that was sort of their, like, I don't wear a mask now kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you could tell they were looking for like a confrontation with someone who was going to call them out in a mask. The thing that I found hilarious, I didn't notice any of them weren't wearing masks until they started loudly talking about it in line at Starbucks. They're like, oh, I haven't worn one since whenever. And I was like, lady, I hadn't even noticed. Like, I know you think this is some big, hot, contentious issue. And I appreciate anyone's stance on wanting to wear a mask for as long as you can. N95, go for it. I have N95s. I wear them everywhere. But I just thought it was so funny that I was like, guys, the rest of our brains go back too. Like, you think this is something that everyone's so worried about when you do or don't do. Like, I honestly didn't notice.
Well, I hope the contention that we feel towards each other for really small issues or big issues or whatever, I hope we find our way out of that in the next year, because it's just it's exhausting. You know, thankfully, I'm glad that the Coutts border is open. It's the border just a few, like 100 kilometers south of Lethbridge. That's where I exited Canada, and that's where I'm now coming back in. But we thought we might have to change everything and go up the Oregon coast, literally add 36 hours onto traveling. But it looks like that's all basically been resolved physically. I think the emotional residual protest part of it is still ongoing. We've got so much fun stuff to talk about in the show today. You are listening to the Jann Arden podcast. Don't go away, because we're going to talk about the Super Bowl and the halftime show and Kanye West and Kim and and everything that's going on with the throuple of the century. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Driving during our Canadian winters means being ready for anything, and that requires planning ahead. In my case, once I've secured my most precious cargo, aka my dog, and an ample selection of beverages and snacks, I make sure I've tucked away stuff like flashlights, warm blankets, and a first aid kit. You know who also likes to be prepared? The good people over at Intact Insurance. Their blog, which you can check out at intact.ca/advice, is filled with tons of useful tips and information and articles to help you and your car get ready for cold weather.
Welcome back to the Jann Arden podcast. I'm here with Caitlin and Adam. Super Bowl. I mean, there's not a person on earth that doesn't know what that is or prepare to eat, junk food. We had a really good halftime show, I think. It was very, very nostalgic for me, seeing Eminem, 50 Cent, Mary J. Blige looked spectacular. Dr. Dre. I mean, it really, for me, it was great. A lot of people are like, you've got to say that, because I went on Twitter and I said, really, really great halftime show. And some woman in Victoria called me out and said that I had to say that, and it sucked and it was terrible. And I was just like, oh my,
who would make you say that?
But you're actually telling me how I felt about it. I don't know. It's just like,
people are so
I thought it was amazing. I thought Eminem was so great. And there was, all these political implications. Why did he take his knee? All this stuff. I'm like, I don't care. I do not want to get into layer 19 of what the innuendo of his, he lifted his hand at the end and pointed one finger. No. I'm like, sorry, I'm not going to go there. I don't care.
Yeah, Eminem can't hear you.
But the big halftime show, and Leah, who I'm traveling with, she's very wrapped around this story with Kanye West and Kim. Very, very public breakup. Kanye wore a black hooded full face mask to the game, and he was sitting beside, he was in one of those boxes, I guess.
No, he wasn't in a box. He was on.
He wasn't in a box.
Yeah, he was in the main
whoever
portion.
He was sitting beside, who was it? Maybe I'm missing something here. It was somebody famous saying that he overheard him talking to his friend saying, do you think I can take this thing off halftime? Like,
okay,
get really hot under here. You go.
That was Judd Apatow. So Judd Apatow was seated a few rows behind him. If you don't follow Judd Apatow on social, do yourself a favor, because he's very funny. And he was posting about the conversation that Kanye was having. Now, I don't know, though, because this is Judd Apatow and he's so funny and such a good writer.
Maybe he's kidding.
I think he was making it up, because he was like poking fun at the fact that Kanye was in this mask and he was really hot. It was like the hottest day ever in LA. And that he was sweating, and he was debating, I wish I hadn't put this on initially. Now I can't take it off. I've overcommitted to the mask look. and all this stuff. So he was so funny. But yeah, Kanye was there. He was with Antonio Brown, 2 Chainz, and I think another rapper, and then 2 of his children. And he did have that mask on. I'm not talking about an N95 either. This is like his full covered face.
Yeah, it looked like a superhero. It looked like a new version of a superhero with no eye holes and no mouth hole.
It looks like the character that is escaping me now. Oh, Scarecrow from Batman, the one that wears the burlap sack. Yeah, it looks like a villain. It's a villain look.
Oh yeah.
So he was there at the Super Bowl, and he was
tweeting a lot. So he has posted and deleted on his Instagram, 4 or 5 times. So he took everything off. And basically he's just going after Pete Davidson, who is the new love interest of Kim Kardashian. And it's just really complicated. And it just doesn't, it's not going great because he seems quite unwell.
Yeah.
So I can't sit here and really make a lot of jokes about it because he seems outwardly very unwell to me. The posts don't make much sense, but he's very jealous. He wants his family back. He's, and Kim, I went so far as to say, you could really harm Pete with your comments. Like your fans could physically hurt him. You gotta dial this down. So what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
I went from he posted like an Avengers meme that Kanye made or someone on his team made where it was like his side versus Kim's side with Pete. And so I think at first for a while, like a lot of people, I was like, har, not thinking that Kanye was going to maybe stop at some point, which is foolish of me. I should know better having followed him for so many years now. But now, and it was a kind of like a social activist named Sean King who commented on this on his Instagram. And I thought he put it really well because at a point, Kanye was sharing images of kind of violent images of one guy choking another guy out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and I think at that point, he sort of broke it down better than I probably could, but he basically said he had crossed a dangerous line that he found problematic, and he said it was really common with abusive men. And he said, Kim and Kanye are separated. She's filed for divorce. He has openly and publicly dated multiple women over the last month, all while he has repeatedly threatened violence against a man that Kim has been seeing. And he threatens the careers and names and reputations of other men and women who are friends with him, Kid Cudi being one of them, another rapper that Kanye has collaborated with, but is friends with Pete Davidson. And then he says, all in the name of his family, but none of this actually helps his family. So Kim's texting him saying, you're creating this dangerous situation. He posts the text publicly with these memes about physical violence. And then in the comments under his post about this, where he's breaking down this abusive behavior, all these other women are in the comment section, and they start saying that their abusive exes did this to them. So then I was reading through all this thinking to myself, I haven't been in an abusive situation like this before, so I don't know. And I'm not saying physically abusive, it's just lots of different forms of it. And so I was reading that and I was like, oh, you know what? Now I feel like I shouldn't have been kind of taking this lightly, like, oh, Kanye being Kanye. I'm like, this could be super distressing for Kim and for their children. It could really harm Kanye's chance.
I feel for his kids.
Yeah, and then I also
they're not super young. They're old enough to read.
Yeah, they have social media. And I was like, what if this impacts, what if this is like a bad flare up for him because he has mental health issues and he's not being scary?
That's what I was thinking too, is just that he's not, and they say he doesn't take his medication, whoever they are.
Yeah. So what if this is a flare up for him, but that he pays a permanent price for? Because what if she uses this in court? Because why wouldn't you think and be scared about this and then bring it up? What if her lawyers did it and it impacts their custody? So then I was like, oh crap, this feels miles away to me because they might as well live on Mars because they're celebrities. But then I realized, oh, maybe this has like long lasting real world implications. So sometimes I do even fall into the category of being guilty of forgetting celebrities are people too. And so I was like, oh yeah, no, that part of it.
But then what do you say to the people that are coming forward and saying this is a publicity stunt? This is, their record sales go up, the Kardashian branding to have this kind of drama. I don't believe that to be true, Caitlin, but you know that there are people that are just like, this is what they do. They're getting exactly the attention that they want. So, but I do think it's inappropriate, and it doesn't feel like a publicity grab to me in the least.
No, it doesn't with Kanye, because I just don't actually think he's capable of seeing things through clearly big picture. I think he is like a hot-headed person who acts in the moment, and then it can be really long-lasting damage to obviously his family and to him. So once it got real, like at first, like I said, haha, and then it started to get worse and kept happening. And I thought, well, this now feels bad to watch. So I was happy that he deleted all of it and that he posted a calmer approach. And so hopefully it stays there. I mean,
was Pete Davidson not at the Super Bowl as well?
Was he at the Super Bowl? I don't know. I don't
Leah,
know if
was Pete Davidson at the Super Bowl? My expert doesn't know.
Okay,
I thought maybe he might be there. Anyway, running parallel to this story, Pete Davidson is now talking about entering back into the world of social media and returning onto Instagram because he's had so many problems with it. You know, his stuff with Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande, yeah.
You know, just having that unfold publicly. He has had a really difficult time navigating social media and has been off it for quite a while. So he chooses this time in his life to go back on social media with all of this crap storm going on. Anyway, it makes my life look really pedestrian and so quiet. It's like, should I have a cabbage roll or should I get...
Yes, you should.
Yeah. Or should I do some rice with, you know, I look at this world and it just seems so complicated. But like you alluded to earlier, Caitlin, it's like a lot of women came on the thread and said, this happened to me. So maybe this is a good thing to have a forum where people are recognizing this kind of repetitive abusive behavior.
Yeah.
So maybe he's doing the world a favor.
Maybe it starts a bit more of a conversation. And, you know, he's not one to shy away from apologizing either, though. And I'm not saying that makes what he does okay, but I am saying that that might be included in part of this larger conversation, that he may apologize and add some further context. I don't know. But Pete, oh man, I think someone's running that Instagram account for him, by the way. I don't think he's on it managing it for himself.
Don't go away. You're listening to the Jann Arden podcast. We shall return.
Driving during our Canadian winters means being ready for anything, and that requires planning ahead. In my case, once I've secured my most precious cargo, aka my dog, and an ample selection of beverages and snacks, I make sure I've tucked away stuff like flashlights, warm blankets, and a first aid kit. You know who also likes to be prepared? The good people over at Intact Insurance. Their blog, which you can check out at intact.ca/advice, is filled with tons of useful tips and information and articles to help you and your car get ready for cold weather.
Welcome back to the Jann Arden podcast. Caitlin and Adam are with me. I don't know about this, but would you want to live in Disneyland or like full time at a Disneyland resort? That just cannot be something that you want to do.
I want to visit.
Oh yeah, for 3 days and then leave.
No, I want to visit Disneyland or Disney World or the Magic Kingdom. I want to visit for a week, but I don't want to live the life of fairy tale.
Jan, you know, maybe because you just missed the boat. They're building a permanent housing community outside of Palm Springs.
No,
you and Mickey.
Okay, tell me what this is. It's not near Disneyland. It's a Disney themed permanent residence. Is it a seniors village? What is this thing?
I would have to imagine that there is a retirement community vibe to it, but this is their first ever housing community. They're planning a series of communities across the U.S., the first one being built outside of Palm Springs. They say there's 2 more in the works. So this is a clip from their promo video for the housing community.
I'm proud to announce our next Disney experience, Story Living by Disney. All new Disney-branded master-planned residential communities designed to be the perfect setting for Disney fans to write the next exciting chapter in their lives. Story Living by Disney allows us to leverage what we do best: world-class service, legendary storytelling, and creativity. This exciting new venture will enhance, extend, and strengthen the Disney brand by allowing us to bring the magic of Disney to places you may never have expected.
Picture an energetic community with the warmth and charm of a small town and the beauty of a resort. A place that entices inspiration and makes every moment more memorable than the last. A story living by Disney community is something truly special.
Okay, well, I don't know. It's never. It's just not for me. But I know people that are obsessed with Disney everything. They have Disney rugs. Actually, I have to come clean. I ordered a rug from Ruggable, which is a company that I really love. They're all washable rugs.
Yep.
They have new sizes and they have great designs. So I bought this rug 2 years ago, just before the pandemic. And it was really difficult to lift all my furniture in my library and get this Velcro type mat down that the top Ruggable sticks onto. It's actually an amazing system. It stays in place. It doesn't slip around. And you can throw it in the washing machine. I kid you not. Even like an 8x10 rug, it's the fabric. You can put it in a normal washing machine and wash it. Anyway, fast forward to our topic. I'm sitting there looking at it a year and a half later. I'm having a cup of tea. I'm probably talking to you knuckleheads. And it's a Disney themed rug.
No.
The design has little tiny Mickey Mouse heads.
You didn't even notice?
I didn't notice.
Oh my gosh.
No.
You're a secret Disney superfan. Maybe you and your rug can move to their housing community in Palm Springs.
But I mean, is this branding gone too far? Like really, is it it's just more of our great service that you've become accustomed to? I have never had great service at a Disneyland. I don't know. I can't remember ever sitting and having great service. Are they talking about, I don't know. Is there going to be restaurants? Like, what is this thing?
Because have you been to or heard of or seen anything about these giant housing communities in
like
Florida?
Heritage City, or is that what it's
called?
one of called?
The Gables, I think, is one.
I am familiar with them. My Kathleen Madigan, hilarious comedian. I think her parents live in one, and she has such funny stories.
Shoot, I'm going to look this up while we're talking. But there was
and they all wander around. They're wandering around, visiting with each other. Like, it's very social. Like, happy hour probably hits an hour earlier every week, but everyone's got a golf cart.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. They all get around by golf cart, and the communities are self-contained. Many of them have their own healthcare facilities. They have grocery stores. They have restaurants. They have their own Starbucks. They have clothing stores. They have everything. All the sports and recreation activities you can think of. So there is a huge market for this. And there are tons of people.
And you cannot be there unless you're 55. So just know that. In those communities, you have to be 55 to live there. Because Kathleen's like, I wouldn't mind living here. And she's like 42, and her mom and dad are like, it's never going to happen.
Oh, here it is. Okay. So this documentary is called Some Kind of Heaven. I highly recommend this. It is about the Villages, which is a massive self-contained retirement community in Central Florida. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting. They do a great job, which is what I love most about a good documentary, of taking like a subject like retirement living in Florida, but then breaking it down into these personal stories. But for Disney, I do think there's a huge demand for it. There are a ton of people, actually, because the cost of long-term care has become so prohibitively expensive and impossible to get on a list for, that people are now spending part of their retirement on cruise ships permanently. And now they started selling cabin rooms as condos, and it's actually more cost effective sometimes. And they have doctors on board, and your meals are taken care of, and you get to travel around and see things, and it's warm. And so this, to me, depending on the price point, I mean, I kind of get it. I don't get it from a branding perspective. I'm not a big adult Disney fan, but I know they're out there. So,
well, they do have world cruises that are a year long. So if you want to commit to that, and I don't think it's age prohibitive, but I'm pretty sure they don't take children because, obviously the educational aspect of putting your kids in school and stuff. But a year, but I guess if you're 86 and you want to just look out the window, maybe you and your husband or your partner, let's chat when I get there.
Okay.
When I'm doing this while I'm on month 7 of the we're here in St. Lucia,
Yeah.
and I bought the most beautiful shell sandals. Caitlin.
Well, I think that I'm not like, I can't put myself in the position of wanting to do that because I'm not there yet life stage wise, but I'm not going to say I don't understand it. I feel like, I don't know, the older citizens I know who spent a portion of their year in Florida, they had a pretty sweet setup. They had a pretty good deal. So I don't know. And how's Palm Springs like climate wise?
Really, I think pleasant. I wouldn't have a problem with it. It's so funny to see them in down-filled jackets when it's 21 degrees Celsius. So I went and got a coffee yesterday. I thought I'm just going to go downtown and see what this Starbucks is like. It's like a big flagship, beautiful Starbucks. There's probably 10 baristas in there and tons of outdoor seating. The most interesting people watching on the planet is at that store. But there was people lined up with beanies on their heads and like down-filled coats and ski pant looking things and all the conversations in the lineup. And I mean it was like 18 degrees because it was 7:30 in the morning. Oh, it's going to be really cold today. It's only getting up to, it's supposed to be like 69. I just thought you wouldn't last. And then Chris is texting me saying, yeah, you got 6 inches of snow last night. You might want to remotely open your gate a few times to make sure you can open it when you get home.
I mean, that happens everywhere that you can tell the Canadians, because when we've gone to Bermuda, my brother-in-law and his family live there. So we would usually go visit them once a year. And sometimes we go around Easter or we'll do the May long weekend. And because Bermuda is not that far south, I think everyone believes it's like way in the depths of the Caribbean.
No,
it's not really.
It's not.
It's like off the coast of North Carolina.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is in this cool little pocket climate wise. So it gets very, very hot there. And it is tropical for sure, like in terms of what it looks like in the vegetation. But April, May, it's not necessarily super hot all the time. Definitely in April, not necessarily super hot. I'm still in the ocean. If it's 22 degrees, I'm going in the ocean. Like that's because I'm Canadian. And also I would go in the ocean when it was that temperature when I was in PEI in the summer. Like that was what you did. So you can tell if it's 25 some days. And
that's perfect for me. 25? I'll take it.
The Bermudians are looking at you like you are from another planet. And then you'll get out and they're there in their windbreakers or their polar fleece kind of looking at you with their drink in their hand. And I'll be like, oh, we're just visiting from Canada. And like everyone's like, oh, okay. They all like laugh because we're polar bears. But I'm
we're spreading the myth. Mm-hmm. We're just out there promoting the chilly disposition of our citizens. And
I'm good with it.
But it really was cute and funny, and I've been really grateful to get some sunshine. The 2-day trek is also going to be fun. I've already got some crime podcasts lined up. Listen, if I wasn't doing this podcast, I'd be listening to us right now on the 9-hour drive home, because our first season is 2 years long, folks. So just keep that in your back pocket. You're listening to the Jann Arden podcast, and we're going to be right back. Hey, it's us, Jann Arden Podcast. You can hit subscribe so you never have to worry about missing a weekly podcast from us. Just make your life easy. You can leave us a review. You can give us 4 stars, I think is fair. Or 5 stars if you're feeling so generous. Phone scammers, I hate them. I know that when my home phone rings, and the only reason I have a home phone is because of my home alarm system. So when my home phone rings at 7:00 at night, perfect dinner hour, I know it's people trying to tell me that my social security number or whatever is, I need to fix. There's so many scams going on there. I feel bad for people that get sucked into it. Anyway, Caitlin, take it away. There's a woman that trolls phone scammers, and I think it's fantastic. We're going to play you a clip. Do you want to play the clip now, or do you want to do it afterwards?
I'll set it up. So she does is when she gets them on the phone, she tries to appeal to them by singing to them. She has like a very pretty singing voice. So this is her talking to a phone scammer, and she's recording the call and she shares it on social media so it goes viral, and she kind of like wins him over, and then she makes like a moral appeal to him.
Can I ask you for a favor?
Yes, ma'am.
I like to sing like Bollywood songs. Can you tell me if my voice is good? Is it good?
Just sing again.
Okay. Bole chodiya, bole kangana.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Do you use voice changer?
No, that's my voice.
No.
I've never had this much fun with a scammer in my life. Albert, thank you so much for making my day so much better.
Yeah.
Do me a favor. Can you please stop scamming people? Because sometimes you guys scam old people that don't have money, and that's really rude.
Okay.
Okay, bye, Albert. Love you. Bye, Albert.
I love you too.
Bye.
So what do you think?
I love it.
That's a great idea.
Jane, you should do
I-
this. Sing to them.
I don't want your effing. I mean, they're usually wanting money
Definitely.
just for you to send the money for no service whatsoever. Or I feel bad about this, but I get a lot of charity calls at my house. There's tons of, have you given to this? Have you given to that? Have you given to this? And I have to say no, because I do give a lot of stuff to charity, but I don't want to go fish my credit card out of my purse. It probably sounds really selfish, but I do give a lot. I'm one of those people that, if I'm walking by somebody, and I also do my Cameo videos, which 100% of those proceeds goes to helping animals all over the world. So anyway, but a lot of people just get sucked in. Your bank account has been breached, but this is clever. I will try singing to people.
You should.
And if I can appeal to their sense of justice, maybe I will do that as well.
They're pretty savvy. There's a podcast that I used to listen to more regularly called Reply All, and they would do these deep dive things on these hilarious topics, mostly internet based, but one of them was around scammers. And it was a scammer who was repeatedly calling one of the hosts of the podcast, and he wound up getting him on the phone, building kind of a relationship with this guy who was operating out of a call center somewhere in India. He wound up flying over to the call center to try to get to the bottom of how these call centers operate, who's running them, gets into this whole nefarious criminal world of these call centers and the people who manage them and how they threaten all the employees, and it's got kind of scary. Anyways, really interesting. And it just goes to show you that they're working all the time, and they do get people. And I think maybe because I'm a bit younger and I grew up knowing that anyone who approaches you for money on the phone or via the internet
is
or texting
not real.
Yes.
they're not real. That's not how anyone connects with you. And if they do it in just a more viable way. You should never give out any financial information, never allow someone to log into your computer, any of those things. But they can get fairly sophisticated. And if you're not, if you didn't grow up with technology, I totally understand how this would happen. So yeah, I've always found them I don't like the aggressive ones, the ones who are you're going to be prosecuted. I'm calling from, my name is Frank and I have a thick South Asian accent and I'm calling you from Quebec. From no, you're not. So those people drive me nuts. It's the there's duck cleaning services and they usually just sort of go away if you tell them to, but it's the ones who threaten you with legal action that I don't like, because I just imagine them scaring a grandparent and then I get ticked, which is what happened in that audio clip when she at the end of it is sometimes you guys scam old people, and that ticks me off. I really don't like thinking about that. I hate thinking about someone taking advantage of a senior citizen.
Me too.
It makes my blood
too.
boil.
Yeah.
And I know people. My friend's dad just was. I don't know how it happened, but it was to the tune of £30,000.
Come on.
That my friend had found his dad giving.
Oh no.
And it was all mail campaigns. So he was getting letters to the house, a little different than phoning, but they would tell him that he won £1,000. But in order to process the check, it seems silly to you and I.
Right.
We need £25 and we will get it out to you right away. It's just to cover the postage. And he had a little bit of dementia, but can you imagine they didn't find out until he'd passed away that it was to the tune of, 30,000 £30,000, which is what, 45,000 Canadian dollars kind of in there.
So awful.
The one thing I have done with phone stuff, I will look at the number and I know, because it's literally 21 digits that show up on my cell phone.
Yep.
It's 77913.
Yes.
It's just makes no sense. So I'll go, Calgary City Police. Go ahead. Francois Emergency Service, please. Go ahead. Like I will, they hang up. They don't know what to do.
No.
They're like, what am I calling? Like no one's going, hello?
Yeah.
Right.
No, they also too,
Vacuum appliance calls. You just say ridiculous things, then they usually will hang up. So that's a little hint for you. Sorry, go ahead, Caitlin.
Yeah, pretend that you're like a 911 dispatcher.
Yeah.
But they also too will do this thing where they have these like auto dialers that when they call you, they can make the incoming phone number look like it's only 1 digit or 2 digits away from your number. And
Yes,
just
I've
out
had
of
that.
curiosity, people end up having like they answer the phone and they're like, "Who is this? It looks like my phone number." And
Yeah.
that is a telltale way to know that someone is trying to scam you. It's like that they pique your interest.
The lesson here is don't give out any financial information ever, never, ever on the phone.
Right.
Do it in the bank in person. They will ask you for your card. They will ask you to punch in your PIN number, which is yours alone. The bank people don't even look at your PIN, folks.
No.
They're like, okay, go ahead and punch your PIN in. They look away.
Right.
They do their job with due diligence. So I don't know how to appeal to our seniors or to get through to that, but it can happen to the best of us. So no judgment here. One quick story before we say goodbye to you today. It's so cute. Caitlin brought this in, which is a 25-year-old guy, Australian guy, man of the year he's been hailed as for giving.
I love this story.
Supporting a woman during a Tinder date. Go ahead, take it away. Who was having a baby.
Okay, yeah. So this woman.
We got 1 minute. It's all yours.
Okay, so a 20-year-old woman named Alyssa goes on Tinder when she's 6 months pregnant. And she said, I clearly stated that in my bio. I didn't want to lead anyone on, so I'm being open and honest. She connects with the 25-year-old guy, and they went on 3 dates. And on their 4th date, she was due to pick him up from the airport. Her water broke. She's 8 months, so this is about a bit early. So her water breaks. She has to meet him at the hospital. And this guy clearly would have been well within his rights on his only 4th date to say, hey, talk to you after the baby is born. Nope. Yeah. He went to the hospital. He supported her throughout the birth of her baby. He went in and visited the baby because he had to stay in the NICU. And now the two of them are considering moving in together. And I guess initially her parents were like, this might be a little bit too soon. But then they realized this guy stayed with you when you were in labor on the 4th date. What a sweetheart.
That is a good feel-good story.
You know?
Where are those guys? Where are more of them? Listen, that was a great story to end with. Thanks for coming along with us this week once again. Safe travels to you, Caitlin, wherever you're headed to. Adam, have a wonderful week. We will see you guys next week. Look after yourselves. The best is yet to come. I believe that. Keep your head held high. Throw your shoulders back. We'll see you soon. Toodaloo-doo.